Who would be a Wolves fan, eh?
On goes Bull. Speedball might yet win it here for Wolves. Flash in the shot. What a goal! Molineux in all its magnificence.
Good evening, everyone. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're all enjoying your summer holidays. Welcome back to the Wolves Fancast on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Bebo, Busted Chat, whatever you used to listen on back in the day. It's the little Dan hosting tonight. I've got with me Dean and Price. We'll be talking about all the latest Wolves news from Molineux since basically that last game of the season away at Liverpool. It's been an eventful few months. We didn't even do an end of season show. We were that deflated with the way that the season ended. So we thought tonight we'd start season 15 of the Wolves Fancast with a show on how Wolves possibly might be selling their captain. It's just the way that Wolves do things. Dean, everything's with you. What have you thought about the Euro so far?
All good, mate. It's been good. Good to have some football back. I'm a little bit gutted that the 2 p.m.s are finished because it makes working from home a little bit less bearable. But one thing about I know you touched on the season tickets and that, and there's a bit of fanfare around social media around the protests and stuff like that, saying that it's gone away now. It hasn't.
No.
There is still stuff planned and discussions are taking place. It hasn't been forgotten. Basically, hashtag not a penny more. But yeah, I know that you just reminded me when you went into that. Just
yeah, it's one of them. The season ticket protesting was, in some people's eyes, successful. Some people's eyes, it wasn't nowhere near enough. Like Dean just mentioned, we haven't stopped. There's discussions going on between ourselves. Obviously, old Gold Paku were one of the front runners in pushing the protest originally. We've had conversations with Talking Wolves, Always Wolves. We've got some plans. It's just trying to finalise what's best practice because we can't let this lie. The price increases has priced out so many people that we all know, whether it's online or close family or friends. It can't be something that's let lie. Football is everything to a lot of people. Wolves is probably my biggest hobby. I haven't got sort of, a wedding coming up or kids to fund or, I'm comfortable, but it's still, you can't let it lie. Price, obviously you were one of the heavier voices in our group pushing for the protest, working with the Matchday Experience group at Wolves. What's your sort of feelings on the season ticket pricing since we last spoke?
Yeah, I saw the tweet come out that basically 9 out of 10 people had ultimately renewed. I wasn't quite sure which way to take it at the start. I was surprised, but then not surprised. I mean, surprised in the first initially first surprised because the protests and the fanfare about it was probably like the biggest I've ever known in my Wolves supporting lifetime. I know there's probably, you go back to the 80s, there's far bigger, but in my experience, that's the biggest sort of protest that I've ever seen. And when I saw it was 9 out of 10 have still renewed, I initially thought, I felt a bit deflated. But then I thought, well no, because as you've just said, Dan, for a lot of people, this is just this is what they have, like in their life. That this is the one thing that they want to pump all their disposable cash into. Or in some cases, even if they don't have the money, they find a way to fund it anyway. And this just shows the level of desire that Wolves fans have to go and buy a season ticket and see their team. This is what it means to see the team. But like Dean said, as long as I don't want it to let it lie here now. Got to carry it on and got to somehow keep proving to Jeff that just keep the direction of travel is going in is not one that ultimately is, one that we can ultimately get on board with. I mean, I genuinely wasn't really, I wasn't going to renew, but I've been, my lad twisted my arm, so I'm back for more punishment next season. But that's what
that was one of the key things, wasn't it, Price, really, the protest was, obviously, The kids' prices and the disabled concession prices were massively hiked up to a ridiculous amount.
God, yeah.
One of the things that came out from the back of the protesting was the kids' pricing was shelved, which has allowed a lot more families to be able to go now, which back on when the prices were first revealed, priced out a lot of people. So surely that's got to be a positive from the protest that we did. We was never going to win all the battles within this war with Jeff Shea / the club, whoever it is pushing this agenda, which has got to be Jeff in my eyes. But there has been positives.
Yeah. That is a positive for like people with kids for him to knock it back to what he was before. I think you probably say he's got away with doing as little as he can, hasn't he? Really, with in the face of all the protests. But we'll see where it goes. Everyone's putting in such a great effort so far from all the relative parties that have been putting forward the protests. And Wolves, we saw online from Twitter, Wolves are not the only one. Like West Ham have, they're suddenly coming across their own battles, aren't they, with their club on their prices, especially in regards to concessions. So we just got to keep fighting a good fight, eh?
That's it. I think maybe one of the first sort of sort of timestamp dates that we'll be looking forward to the next protest probably will be that pre-season home game, Dean, that was revealed earlier on this week.
100%. I'm not going. I've got no intention of going to new signings or not. I think I used a hashtag boycott begins on it when I quoted it, because that's where you're going to hurt them. Is that it just shows that you're not losing anything, because you're not losing a league game. You're not impacting the lads on the pitch because it's just a friendly. It's just just show them that we mean business still.
Is it Rayo Vallecano?
Yeah, and that they've got a geezer called Izzy Pelazon, who is literally like the Spanish version of Aaron Moy. So playing at Molineux, he'll just turn into Prime Zidane, like Aaron Moy used to do.
Yeah. It's frustrating because it's like Pricey mentioned, just a lot of this. Wolves is everything to a lot of people. The pandemic was absolutely shit. But if we would have carried on getting all the way to the final, that European tour would have bankrupted me. But I would have found the money to go to those games because, like I said, Wolves is everything to a lot of people, and it is to me. It's what I go to work for, to pay for those home and away days and those moments that are share with my dad or share with my mates. It's Wolves is everything. Talked about sort of not letting signings persuade you into going to that pre-season game, Dean. A few weeks ago, Wolves completed the signing of Rodrigo Gomez for a fee of reported £12.7 million from Braga, a player that is versatile with positions, whether it's wing back or winger. If you look to Rodrigo Gomez, Dean, who's he replacing likely in your eyes, if that's sell to buy and all that sort of mindset?
I think like we needed wingers anyway, didn't we? So we were already short in that stock. But I think if you look at the likelihood of Neto going and stuff, then he sees himself as a winger. The club see him as a winger. It's kind of in the press releases. So he's going to be covering. He can play both sides, which is great. So it means that he's got that kind of the tools in the armory to cover both. I think if you had to put a name on it, then it probably is Neto, because that's the only winger I see us losing. Maybe Sarabia, if somebody from there's rumours of Saudi and stuff like that that lingered about since January, but we were short anyway, so it's just depth out wide.
I mean, Nick Amarim's just commented on going along with these lines. I think it might be Semedo who he's replacing. Maybe he hasn't got that sort of physicality, defensive mind ready-made for the Premier League, Rodrigo Gomez. But like Nick just said, Semedo's got 1 year left on his deal. Probably might be the time to cash in on him now, unless they can get him to agree to a new deal, which maybe he sees his career off at Wolves. It's an interesting one. What did you make of the signing of Rodrigo Gomez, Price?
Yeah, exciting signing. I guess what was most exciting is that we're getting the signing early. We don't normally get a signing until at least the last 4 weeks of the window, do we normally? But I saw on I can't remember where I saw it now. We had the graph where like the heat maps are, and that seemed to be like right back, right wing territory of the pitch, didn't it? So people were saying, is this a Semedo replacement? Which I don't think anyone really thought straight away. And the Semedo one's interesting because obviously O'Neill has categorically said he's pivotal to how he wants us to play next year. So if we lose him, that'll be a big knock potentially to what O'Neill's got in mind. And I don't know whether Gomez is going to be coming in and starting as a replacement straight away, or whether he's going to be playing more advanced, at least in the early days. But it's what we need, isn't it? It's what we've all said before. We were so lacking up front in the offensive part of the pitch last year. Not just, obviously the first 11 was fine, but then when the injuries kicked in, we had nothing, and we do just need more options off the bench. You can never have too many options. So to get one in early doors, that part of the pitch, fantastic. I'm not going to profess that I know a total amount about him. I've got to be honest. So, but from the headline stats I've looked at, it looks quite an exciting play, and one that, like I say, I'm glad we got in early.
Yeah, I agree. I've not watched many of the Superboc Premier League or whatever it's called. I've seen the highlight reels now to suggest that he looks the part. A player that sort of he could be replacing from a squad point of view. Dean is Chiquinho, who's been to a lot of clubs this week.
Yeah, 100%. He could be like Chiquinho's coming back, and he's just become a dad for the first time. So will he want to stay in Portugal, have that kind of continuity or whatever? And again, if you look at the PSR side of it, we didn't pay much for him. And then you're looking at figures like 10 million euro when we only paid a couple of mil for him. So from a PSR perspective, it looks good as well. So it could well be that.
Yeah, definitely. I think he's an exciting transfer. One out the Matt Hobbs out of nowhere sort of signings, really. It's a summer I'm looking forward to a degree. For me, it's got an essence of that season under Bruno Lage in the summer, where everyone was expecting a really poor summer. Within a space of a week, we signed Guedes and Nunez for like 70 million. I'm not saying we're going to be spending that sort of money this summer, but I still believe that there's optimism to be had here. I think the club have seen it as an opportunity this season. I think they've realised last season was an opportunity missed. I don't think we'll spend a huge amount, but I feel like the club will allow Matt Hobbs, Gary O'Neill to bring in bodies this summer, which hopefully can give us that extra second wind in the back half of next season when bodies do start to fatigue and fade. The other sort of signing which appears to be close is Pedro Lima from Sporting Club Recife in Brazil. Doesn't even turn 18 until the 1st of July, so there's a bit of medical and work permit sort of stuff that we still need to get signed off. Beating Chelsea, Man City to the signing price sounds like another optimistic signing.
I know, yeah. X was awash with all like the typical comments that you see. Nowadays, as we know, like it doesn't matter how you get on in football nowadays. It's just whether you win the transfer window, isn't it? Basically, but this was one which I know certainly had the Chelsea fans, well, at least the ones that are on X, up in arms, as they say, because they just thought that he was just signed, sealed, delivered, and it was Chelsea's. So. Again, I don't know much about him, but I'm delighted that he somehow managed to get in there, and like we've managed. I don't know if this is like another Hobbs masterclass in transfer dealings, but he's managed to get in there ahead of Chelsea. Again, from what I've read, massively highly rated. He doesn't look 17. I've got to be honest. I don't know if we've got to check his passport or something, but he don't look 17. But either way, he comes highly regarded. Again, I mean. This dovetailing in with other signing Gomez, all the right side of the pitch strengthening. I could go back to what does it say about Semedo again, but I'm minded to believe that we got him because we said he's going to go straight into our first team, whereas Chelsea, he'd just go off into the loan factory, wouldn't he? He'd just find himself off at bloody Vitesse Arnhem or somewhere else in Europe. Whereas us, no, you're going to come, you're going to be in our first team squad straight away. So I think that's what. I know it's not over the line yet, but it seems like that's what's wouldn't put us in pole position at the minute. But no, I think it could be sterling work from Hobbs and the gang.
I feel like Matheus Cunha pretty much said it was a done deal, Dean, on his Instagram, talking about Pedro Lima's from the same city in Brazil as him, and he was looking forward to having him as a teammate, bar some Paul Pogba to Chelsea, Man United. So yeah, Paul Pogba to Chelsea. No, John Obi Mikel still at Chelsea and Manchester United years and years ago. It seems like a done deal. You excited with the Pedro Lima?
Yeah, I am actually. And obviously, Cunha did a little teaser a few days before where he said in an interview that he'd spoken to Wolves about getting Pedro Lima in, and then a couple of days later it comes through that we've beat Chelsea to it. The good thing about this signing is even though he's like 17, not 18, yes, it's only the second division in Brazil, but he's got a consistent season of playing men football. So he's not just like an Enzo, for example, who'd only played a few games. He's coming across and he's fully fledged first team at that level. And after watching a fair bit of top level South American football that I do, where they kick shit out of each other, I can only imagine what the second tier is like if you compare that to our championship and how physical it is. And Price is right. Like the geezers, he looks like a beast at like 17, 18. He looks like a fully grown man. But you look at João Gomez, he was the same when he came across. Yeah, a couple of years difference. And if Cunha's there, it's such an exciting signing for him to Cunha to take him under his wing. You've got the background of them together, and it's like he's Doc's replacement in the squad for me. He's the backup right back. If I want Semedo to say, I'm quite biased with that, but that's your backup right back sorted, and it's a young, exciting player rather than kind of Doc who's on the other way.
It was around a reported €8 million that I read for Pedro Lima. A player that's sort of similar in regards to position and we'll say future at Wolves. Keanu Hover is probably going to be the player that makes way for maybe a little bit more money than that. Where do you see Keanu Hover being sold at this summer, Dean?
I don't know. I don't know if it. I think I wouldn't be surprised if he goes back to Holland and he gets a move that way and goes that level. I don't think a championship club is going to spend what we paid for him, which was like there's this hoo-ha at the minute about all the deals that are going on about Chelsea and then Villa signing players and academy prospects. Liverpool did that to us 4 years ago with Jota. Like we had to buy their unknown academy product and they gave us Jota to help with the PSR kind of stuff. But I think if he doesn't go out permanently, he'll go back to the championship on loan. I can't, unless we take a cut price deal like a Sanderson where it was like kind of 3 mil or whatever. I think that's all championship.
It's not really worked for him, though, hasn't it?
Nah.
It's just not really worked for him over here. Liverpool, we took him from Liverpool quite early on. It clearly didn't work for us. Didn't work at Stoke. I don't know. I'm not sure who would gamble on him there. So yeah, I think back to the continent might suit him.
He's had some fleeting moments for Stoke, to be fair to him. I think he was like goal of the month for the 1 month. I think he's had some half-decent performances, but maybe championship bottom half, maybe just his level. These are the sort of players that we seem to have gone through the conveyor belt at Wolves, who come in with sort of, a lot of optimism and potential at a young age, but only end up being solid championship players. Obviously, we've got a good academy. I mentioned it on the back end of last season. There doesn't seem to be many players in the academy that's really making a move for solid first team football. Max Kilman is probably the last one who has took it by the scruff of the neck and made him a solid starter. The one player that's been linked to a move to Chelsea this week is Wesley Okudua, the 16-year-old who featured in a couple of match day squads. Be disappointed if we lost him because he's a player who's come with a lot of reputation for a 16-year-old, Dean.
Yeah, he has, and you've got an Alvin Ayman as well, who's been kind of rumoured for Liverpool, I think it was. But we have got a good academy, and we could bring some good players through it. So I think you look at the Hoover one, for example. Liverpool got him in early. They've got him through to 18, sold him on at a profit. The Wolves are trying to do that, but they're trying to do what Liverpool did. They're trying to get these players in at like kind of 13, 14, develop them for a couple of years, take them to another level. And then if the clubs do come in, the big clubs, the big six, which again, I don't really like it, but they do it. Look at City, like they've made like £500,000 off their academy in the last few years in total for players that have barely touched the first team because they get them in so young and then sell them on. So it's profit for the club, I suppose. But as a fan, you'd always want these players to come through your academy and hit your first team.
Definitely. Thanks to everyone who joined us on the Wolves Fancast. Keep your comments coming. We'll try and get through as many as we can. Stu commented saying, miss those beautiful faces. Stu was the one who was telling me that Pedro Lima's got lovely cars for a 17-year-old boy. We'll talk about that in a different context, a different day. Pogman, what do you mean, Dan? You've not got a wedding to look forward to. I meant I've not got a wedding coming up. Your wedding, I'm very much looking forward to. Tom Davies saying £20 for the friendly. Can't wait for Jeff to ask for £45 for the Carabao Cup second round game versus Crewe. I did make the sort of joke about that on my Twitter the other day, that once you sign up for the automatically sign up for the cup scheme, when we scramble a 5-4 win, 5-4 penalty shootout win over Gillingham in the first round, and Wolves try and sell it as £54 for everyone in the second round at home to Wrexham, you've automatically signed up for that. So that money's coming straight out of your account. They can charge whatever they want in that cup scheme, and it's coming out. They ain't this club of ours. You can't trust them not to go big on these Carabao Cup games. So make sure you've got enough money in your accounts. Paul 2011 says, "Get Doc out. Not good enough. Sorry." What else have we got in the comments section? Mike Price, shout out to Pricey having a class music taste. Price, how was download for you last weekend?
Very muddy. I've got to say, good, but extremely muddy. The weather was not as hot as it was today, but it was sunny all day, but the damage certainly had been done to the ground. It was a quagmire. It was a bit difficult to get around the side at times, but nonetheless, cracking day. Limp Bizkit, of course, stole the show. Probably should have headlined because Avenged Sevenfold were a bit dull. But shout outs to who are the top bands of the day, like Creeper, Limp Bizkit, Machine Head, Parkway Drive with the secret band in the tent, Sum 41 and Bowling Pursuit. There you go. And a cracking burrito that cost me £13. So inflation's hitting everyone.
Bar the mud you could have done with the weather being today, like it was last weekend, because Wolverhampton scorched out today.
It was reasonably warm last week, but like I say, I think the previous 2 days worth of rain had they made the ground just basically like a slop.
Right, as again, I repeat it. Thanks for joining us on the Wolves Fancast tonight. Price, you've known me for a good few years now. Me doing this show, trying to defend Wolves not selling Max Kilman for a low value is never something I foresaw coming. Yesterday or the last couple of days, it came out that Newcastle and West Ham had opened a sort of bidding war for the Wolves centre-half. West Ham getting having a £30 million bid rejected, which was £30 million spread over 6 years, which was, let's be truthful, embarrassing. Sun reporter Jack Rosser also reported that West Ham are reluctant to pay more than £35 million for the centre-half, who Julian Lopetegui is believed to not only want at West Ham, but he's also rumoured to be wanting to be made captain at the London side. John Percy, with one of his Percy bombs, also revealed Newcastle had made a player plus cash offer for Max Kilman, with the player understood to be Elliot Anderson coming to Molineux in return, which Wolves also rejected. A bidding war has come out of nowhere, really. He was linked to Napoli last summer, but now 4 Premier League sides coming in for him, Newcastle, West Ham, and supposedly Tottenham and Man United being the other two being linked. How does that news sit with you at the moment? Let's talk about the West Ham bid for first £30 million over 6 years.
Go on, Price. You're one of the founders of the
King Kilman Club. Price, founder, go.
Well, firstly, yes, Dan, it is a shock that we're doing a pod about Kilman and you're front and centre hosting, and you're not slagging them off from minute one. So, firstly, well done to you. First off. But secondly, the West Ham interest probably isn't surprising, given the ex-manager connections. I am surprised that all the other clubs have seemingly come out of nowhere. Like I say, this bidding war has suddenly kicked off. We don't normally get that for our players, do we? We're normally on the other side of the fence. We're involved in the bidding war for another player, so it's nice that players a bidding war's coming for one of their players. But yeah, I mean, I'm one of his biggest defenders. I've never made any bones about that. Straight from minute one, he seems to be a player that's really divides opinion. I don't think we kind of have a player that divides opinion like him. In the fact that people like me who say how great he is, and you've got other people who will literally just say that he's like one of their worst defenders, or people that have been on his back from literally the first game, where the comments weren't just, I don't think he does it for me, or I haven't seen too much from him. They've literally gone and said he's our worst player ever, like in the history of Wolves, right from minute one, which baffles me. But I think over time he's proved himself, and he's dependable. Like, he never missed a minute last season, didn't miss a single minute of league football last season. He's solid and he's dependable. I mean, whether he's captain or not, that's a different debate entirely, but point is, I can understand where the interest is. I can understand why there would be teams who would be interested in him, because he's a solid, dependable, and quality player, and he ticks a lot of boxes. Well, he's English, he's left-footed, so he's like Cody levels of dependable, and that he never misses a minute. He's a good player. I mean, yeah, people point out his mistakes, but show me a defender that isn't like an elite level defender, doesn't make mistakes. So I can see certainly why West Ham are interested, because Lopetegui knows all about him. The fee, I think, it's not. There's a reason why we just missed it out of hands. That's just the 30 million is just not going to cut it. You know, it's going to be at least 40 in my eyes. I know you've got some stuff down to show about how valuations are met through websites and stuff, but for me, I think if it's likely that he's going to go, and let's face it, no player is not for sale, are they? Or very rarely players are not for sale. Every player's got the price. So I think for us, if he starts getting past 40 mil, then the club are really going to start taking a look at it. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't the tweet say that we were looking for 45? I think
that was reported on the week. Yeah, £45 million. The club have sort of stated they want as a minimum for Max Kilman, which I don't think is far-fetched, and that's coming from me, who hasn't been his biggest fan. I feel like the last 2 seasons he's fed me a lot of humble pie. Like you just said, he's a solid defender. If you want to compare him to Virgil van Dijk, he's going to be crap. But for a player at Wolves, he's head and shoulders one of our better defenders. I think he's probably our best defender on paper. I think people may say Craig Dawson's better than him, but individually, I think Kilman's head and shoulders our best defender. When Craig Dawson's next to him, their levels go both dramatically. Yeah. I think they're both solid defenders. I think even Totti goes up levels when they're as a back three. I think they've been as solid as sort of Saïs, Cody and Bolly at times the last 2 seasons at Wolves. You mentioned about sort of transfer values and whatnot. I said on our Twitter yesterday, we can't let Max Kilman go because he's the poster boy for the Wolves in USA tour when we play West Ham. That post is laughable if he ends up playing for West Ham in that first pre-season game in the US. The ever reliable website Transfer Market have Max Kilman valued at €32 million. Transfer Market come to their values of players based on sort of some of the things you can see on the screen there. So in regards to sort of age, contract length, fitness, general demands, how a player will sort of deal with high pressure situations, the marketing value for a defender, that sort of thing. What else we got on there? The sort of salary that the player is currently on. For me,
there's a lot of stuff
Max
there.
Kilman's still got 4 years left on his contract. If he's on, what do you say? Kilman's on a week price. I went with 50 grand a week in the group.
I was literally just going to say 50 grand.
So I mean, I haven't put words in your mouth. I went
more.
50 grand. You reckon more, Dean?
I reckon because his renewal was last summer. I reckon a bit more. Club captain.
Let's lowball it for the time being. We'll say 50 grand a week. 4 years left on his contract. That's £10 million that he's got left on his salary at Wolves. So if he's valued at €32 million, he's got £10 million left on his salary. Wolves don't want to sell the defender.
Yeah.
So if other clubs want to buy this defender, they have to provide a sweetener on top of the values that we've just spoke about: ability value, contract, salary left. I don't think Wolves stating £45 million is laughable. I have conversations with friends in the last sort of 24, 48 hours who said they'd take £25 million for Max Kilman, with Maidenhead reportedly having a 15 to 20% sell-on clause. It is laughable to ask for that low of a fee for a player who's been on the outskirts of the England side for the last sort of 2-3 seasons. Dean, we touched on the Newcastle bid a few months ago. I'll just repeat it again. Newcastle have supposedly placed a player plus cash offer to Wolves for Max Kilman, with the player understood to be Elliot Anderson. Elliot Anderson is a tidy player, to be fair. Wide man for Newcastle, come through their academy, got a bit of pace, tidy on the ball. But unless it's a high value, and Elliot Anderson, another bid that we should be not even acknowledging. It's just you print that email out and you chuck it in the bin.
100%. He doesn't. He'd be a squad player at best. So is that worth getting rid of your captain for? No. I think the only thing that maybe limits Kilman's value is the fact he's untested and he's got no backlog of playing in a back four. A lot of his best works come as a three. So if you look at if Lopetegui wants to play a four at the back, or if Newcastle Eddie Howe plays a four at the back, that would be their selling point. But me personally, I think it's 40 mil minimum, same as that comment there. 40 mil plus maybe a couple of add-ons if they get Champions League or whatever.
Obviously, it's a lot of paper talk, but we've mentioned just that sort of Newcastle, West Ham, Tottenham, and Man United are all sort of interested in Max Kilman. It's £45 million. If you've got those four sides coming in for your captain, Wolves should not be in a position where they're being lowballed. There's clearly interest in a player that those sides above us in the league believe can make their sides stronger. Man United, probably, it's not really hard to make stronger, is it? They've got Johnny Evans, Lindelof, Willy Cambuala as their free centre-halves next to Lisandro Martinez, because Rafael Varane's leaving on a free this summer. We can't be lowballed on Max Kilman. It's really, really poor business. Fosun might have sort of ideas. I don't believe Fosun are looking to sell the club. They're pushing for investment into the club, so they've got to spend less. But they're not looking to sell Wolves. They're too big for the Fosun brand to let go, in my opinion. If they were sort of close to selling the club or were pushing to sell the club, I think Kilman probably would have went last summer to Napoli when they bid €35 million or whatever it was then. But come the first game of the season, I still believe Max Kilman will be at Wolves. Whether things change in the next sort of couple of days, weeks, I think Max Kilman will still be there. We had a few people comment saying selling Kilman may equal keeping Neto, but is that worth it if Neto is injured for 45% of the season? What's your opinion on that price?
Well, I kind of agree. I mean, we're talking there about a player who's never present, never gets injured, never gets suspended. Based on, I think I looked on Transfermarkt actually this morning, and in the last 3 seasons, Kilman's missed 9 games, league games. That's really good. And obviously last season didn't miss a beat, didn't miss a second. Completely different players, obviously part of the pitch, Kilman, Neto, but Neto, as good as he is, has shown to be unreliable. Kilman's very, very much reliable. It was one of those. I think he's formed one of those 3, isn't he? If you could lose either Kilman, Neto, or I think it was Joao Gomez, which one would you lose? I probably out of all those, I bet you Kilman probably came top as like the one to lose out of those 3. But whatever. I just think that he's quite, going back to 12 months ago, he's quite loyal to Wolves. He could have gone to Napoli, couldn't he? And I think, weren't they the Italian champions, weren't they? I think 12 months ago.
Yeah.
Could have gone, 35 mil, could have gone there. I think we have to refresh my memory, but I can't remember if we were in a position where we were going to accept it or not. But he had said, I think from the reports coming at the time, he'd said that he's just got no interest in going there. And I know some people are going, what's wrong with the guy, man? Why did you turn down Napoli? But it's loyalty. It's the same thing that we had with Steve Bull years ago. The guy's loyal to the club at the moment. He wants to stick around and play for us. Obviously, being club captain was obviously a draw for him. He's been given the position of seniority at the club. But I mean, for me, and I'm going to say this because I'm obviously biased, but I don't think we should be selling him. I don't think unless Hobbs again can pull some sort of masterstroke, and get in like a guy for like only 10 million, and we walk away with like 30 mil profit. But for me, I think we've got to keep him. I think he's shown how dependable he is. He's shown his quality over the last 3 years. I just don't think we should be selling him.
I'm still of the opinion that as good as he is, if the right offer does come in, we'd be stupid not to accept it. But it has to be sort of, like I've said, £45 million plus. You can get sort of defenders as good, if not better, for half the price with a bit of shrewd recruitment. Thanks everyone who's also on Instagram watching live. I had quite a few comments on there. Rusmus says, "Hi lads, thanks for a good chat." Reference Max Kilman, I'm ambivalent. Seems like a nice fella, but I'd be happy for him to leave or stay. Needs to be money up front so we can replace him. That's the key thing. We have to get the deal right, don't we? Here, that £30 million over 6 years from West Ham was laughable. Matt Bradley's commented, I think it might actually be more difficult to replace Kilman than replace Neto. Less expensive for sure, but more difficult. Yam 77, Neto as an impact player. To keep Neto, you have to work on fitness. Chris N's comment is saying Mosquera may come into the first team to replace him. That's another player similar to Chiquinho. Dean, that we mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Is Mosquera going to want to stay in Spain, where he's had a good few appearances with Villarreal, Colombian, where he's got a better culture and lifestyle and a lot more sun in Spain than he would get in Wolverhampton?
Yeah.
A player that Wolves theoretically could get good money for this summer in the same sort of line as hopefully Fabio Silva, Daniel Powdens. There's also been rumours of Sasa Kalajic being sold this summer, even though he's injured.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on whether Mosquera can make a push for the first team this summer?
I think we need to get him in, personally. My perfect back three would, as the squad stands, would be Totti, Kilman, Mosquera, because what Totti gives you on the left with that athleticism and just natural defending aggression, Mosquera gives you the same on the right. Like, he's played right back and he's played centre back for Villarreal the last 6 months of the season, off the back of that really good season in the MLS. So he's taking the steps up. So I think with Yerson, he's going to want to leave if we can't promise him first team football. That's the way I read it, because he's getting it. He can get it elsewhere, but I think his priority would be to play in the Premier League. But if we can't guarantee him that, then he probably would look to move on. But me personally, I'd get him integrated as soon as he's done what he wanted to do. Gary O'Neill reportedly wanted to keep him around in January, but Yerson wanted to play football. And if you look at, and he's also played in a back four the last kind of during both his loan periods. So he's played in that central. So if we did want to move to a four, that option is there, and he's got experience of it.
Yeah, Danny P. Mosquera is class. Can't believe he didn't make the Colombia squad, but good for us that he gets to be in pre-season. Paul's also questioned, Dean, on the basis of what you just said. Where does Santiago Breno land in all of this for you?
Santi would be the one if Kilman goes, then Santi would be the one I'd put in the middle, because he is. But again, Santi can play in a two. So I know this is going to sound pretty extreme, but if it's a back two on the books, I'd probably go Santi and Yerson, because they're both proper centre backs, and Santi's that standard South American, aggressive. I think the adaptation periods took a bit longer than expected, especially with the language and stuff like that. But if you have Santi and Yerson, that'd be a decent back two pairing to have. I know it's harsh on Totti, but at the same time, as a kind of Totti loves his aggression, but as a natural defender and just knowing where to be, which I've said on shows in the past that's something that Kilman, he always looks like he's thinking how to defend, whereas Yerson and Santi grew up like that, so they know what they need to do from a centre back partnership in a back four as well. So it does open it up. I do like Santi actually.
Paul and Ed in the comment section going backwards and forth. Paul saying, are we ever going to not rely on a back three? Where Ed replies, back three till we die. Welcome, Daniel Chaston, West Ham fan, saying, do you think Wolves will accept £35 million for Kilman? Wolves accept £35 million for Kilman. We'll not only be protesting about season ticket prices, we'll be adding that on top, because 123 North Street's commented, Price saying, guys, tell me if we've got £45 million for Kilman, how much of that will Gary O'Neill get?
Do you know what I mean? What we said before, like if you can guarantee, right, that if we sell Kilman for 45 and we get a player in who's about as good as him for like a fraction of that, so like 10 million, then it makes business sense to do, doesn't it? That's just pure business sense. If they identify someone who's got all the attributes or like a greater potential than Kilman, then, like I say, fine. As I said, every player's got his price. No one's not for sale, and that includes the club captain. Then then ultimately it'll happen. If someone waves enough green under the nose of Jeff and the accountants, then he's going to go, isn't he? That's ultimately what it comes down to. But we'll just see who actually stumps up the money first.
I mean, we've got another Paul who's just joined the chat, and he's bold, but he says, "No, Daniel, we want £60 million plus add-ons." If we can get it, Paul, I'm all for it. I'm trying to be as realistic as I'd like other fans to be when it comes to quoting the price of their players. We've just done a brief sort of transfer valuation segment on Max Kilman, where a solid website have him as sort of £32 million. We've discussed his contract length, salary that he's got remaining, what he would take as a sweetener, and we've got it around the sort of £40 to £45 million mark. I don't think West Ham are going to come back to that sort of fee. Newcastle, I don't think I'm going to be spending that sort of money on a centre-half this summer, and then leave sort of Tottenham and Man United if they actually are as interested as the news reports have them make out to be. Dan_Watson89 on Instagram says, would you sell João Gomez, Pedro Neto and Ryan Aït-Nouri for 120 mil to have that for a reboot, or keep them all and have what we have, Dean? 120 million seems really cheap for those three there.
That's not enough for two of them.
Yeah. Pedro Neto got an assist on his first game in the Euros, had a decent 45 minutes in the second half against Turkey yesterday. Wolves reportedly had set a transfer fee of £60 million for Pedro Neto before the season ended this summer. I think he's got 2 or 3 years left on his contract. So it's another situation. We're not in a position this summer where we need to be selling players. It's a new PSR cycle that we're in. Wolves still, as Falston have said now, it needs to be a sell to buy policy, but there's no reason that we have to sell these big players this summer. We may end up having the same sort of situation where we're really light on bodies quantity-wise, but if we can keep sort of these players fit and keep them informed, then there's no reason why we need to sell players this summer. Danny P with a comment, I'm curious how much West Ham will have to spend. Paqueta may end up with a ban, and Edson Alvarez did his hamstring for Mexico last night.
Lopetegui will be happy with him.
No. Paul 2011 again says, we're not like Villa selling nobodies for 20 mil. There's still time to do those sort of transfers. It's what I said on my Twitter earlier. Morally, it's wrong, but from an FFP, PSR standpoint, these clubs are going to continue to find loopholes until the rule book's thrown out. I don't feel like the Premier League should be bound to these rules now. It's just making it harder for teams to compete with the big 4, big 6, whatever you want to quantify it as. Wolves got stung, didn't we, after our first season in the Premier League, where we got to the quarterfinals of the Europa League. Was it something like £7.5 million fine and a squad reduction or something?
Yeah, it was something along those lines for going over because of the championship spend, wasn't it?
Chris saying we really need Neto to play the next 4 games and really turn it on. It'd be interesting to see whether he does play in Portugal's last game that they're now qualified. Rafael Leao's suspended, isn't he, for that game? So you'd think he'll get some good minutes in that game, Pedro Neto, and maybe if he does turn it on, then theoretically he may end up starting the round of 16 game, because I said at half-time yesterday, if Roberto Martinez had any football acumen, we'd sub off Rafael Leao at half-time, and he passed the test. We did some potential replacements for Max Kilman on the screen above. If you can just see, Wolves have been linked to the 3 centre-halves. You can see to the right there, David Carmo, who's currently on the books of Porto, but was at the with Olympiacos for their Conference League success last season. We're back in again for Nico Alvedi. Is it Mönchengladbach he's at?
Yeah.
And Thomas Beelen at Feyenoord, who's been reported for a fee of £12 million, which seems about right for a centre-half that has had a good season for Feyenoord if you go and look at his stats. Dean, out of the 3 there, David Carmel's the one that I want, but it looks like we might be pushing more for Alvedi.
Yeah, I think the thing is with Alvedi's probably the cheaper option. But at the same time, out of those 3, Alvedi's the only one that's played in the back 3. The other 2 played in a back 4. So whichever one we do sign probably is a bit of an inclination as to where Gary O'Neill's going to go with the defence. kind of, yeah, I think if I had to pick one out of all of them, I probably would. It would be Carmo or Beale, and Elvedi would be bottom of my list.
Any preference for you at the free price?
No, I mean, I was going to say I'll defer to Dean on this. Dean's like the Fancast European scout, so he knows all about this sort of stuff. Elvedi's the one that I've heard the most of, truth be told, and comes well regarded. But I mean, if like Dean said, whoever we get in gives an indication as to how we're going to set up next season. But yeah, definitely keep a close eye on them.
Yeah, Daniel Chaston back again, the West Ham fan. I think the highest that West Ham will go is £40 million, as Lopetegui is insisting on him. Price, we've got you covered in regards to a bit more info on these players. Dean's done some great work in finding some stats on the three defenders there. We'll start with David Carmo. Look at the sort of chart on the screen there, Dean. Quite impressive, the amount of aerial battles that he wins. I mean, he's a massive guy compared to Kilman, isn't he? Premier League might suit him physically.
Yeah, he's just a bit of a beast. Like he's a big bloke. Like he is kind of. If you look at kind of like the passes and all that kind of stuff, he's way down because he's more of a out and out defender than Kilman is. Kilman's a bit of a unicorn when it comes to a centre half because of the way he plays and he can carry the ball, he can pass it well, and he can dribble. So. But you ain't really looking like that's not really top of your list for a centre half, is it? Like you want someone that's going to win their duels, win their battles. Which, to be fair to Max, he does win a fair few of his kind of aerials and stuff, which is more than what the eye test suggests when you watch him. But I think the thing is with Max is because he's not that aggressive, he makes the ones he goes for, he wins more than he loses. Whereas other defenders will just go for everything. So the percentiles drop because of that. But yeah, Carmo's more of a kind of out and out kind of no nonsense centre half, whereas Max is your stereotypical ball playing defender.
Was solid in the two games that I saw him play against Villa in the Conference League. Obviously, they've had an outstanding season, Olympiacos. I think it's the first time they've won a European trophy in their history. Get Daniel Powden's back. I'm just going to quickly throw that back in. Let's talk about Nico Elvedi for a second. Same sort of chart there. You can see statistically better than Kilman in quite a few areas there. Mentioned that he is going to be the cheaper option out of the three centre halves. What's your sort of thoughts on Elvedi, Dean?
Like I said, he's all right, but he's just a cheaper, and he's always played in a three, which is why you get kind of some of the progressive carries and the progressive passes. Like that's good, but he's playing in a, like I kind of mentioned, is some of the stats are a bit skewed because of the teams that they're playing and all this kind of stuff. But he's a solid option. Like there's nothing, he's not to be sniffed at. But he's more of the same when it comes to Max. Like in regards to style, they are quite similar. Whereas Carmo's the opposite.
Yeah. Let's have a look at Thomas Beelan for Feyenoord. John de Wolf was Feyenoord's assistant manager last season. So if he's playing centre half for Feyenoord, he can't be no mug price.
Look at that. He's good at passing, isn't he? Look at that passing attempts and pass completion, progressive passes. I mean, he's a ball playing centre half for sure.
It's that Arnie Slot tax because obviously the Liverpool manager was his manager, and they play this kind of vertical, fast passing kind of play. So if that's the way you're looking to go and you're looking to move on this counter attacking ball, which O'Neill seems to like, he's probably one of the better options out there.
It's a big summer ahead for Wolves, but obviously with Captain Kilman likely, if these bids are going to continue to be sold this summer, I don't think he'll leave this summer. I don't think these clubs are going to want to pay the money that Wolves are going to demand for him. Similar situation to Pedro Neto. If we're talking sort of £60 million for him, I don't think there's a big side out there that's willing to pay £60 million for Pedro Neto with his injury record. It's going to be one which will probably change daily in regards to transfer rumours. Try and keep to the sort of John Percy's and the like for legitimate sources instead of, here, there and everywhere that you see on social media. It's easy to put Wolves to a transfer link. Wolves have established Premier League side now, likely to have money to spend. But
the one today was Ekrem Connor, is it, the Turkish guy? He had us rumoured with Moise Kean from Juventus from 10 to 12 million euro. But again, you can't believe anything he says. But
yeah, what's it saying about a broken clock is right twice a day? That's as good as Ekram Kona gets, doesn't he? He's been wayward with a lot of transfer rumours over the years. He might be right on this one. I think there's more chance of me having Price's haircut than Wolves signing Moise Kean this summer. Who else have we been linked? So let's talk about sort of the players that we've already got at Wolves to feature. There's something like Craig Dawson, who's like to come back after his groin surgery, Santiago Breno and Toti Gomez. Craig Dawson was a massive miss on the back end of that last season. Price, he's reaching an age now where he may struggle to come back from this injury and play at a high level at Wolves. I think John Terry found it difficult at Chelsea when he wasn't playing week in, week out to get back to the level and the pace of the Premier League. But he would still be a key player for me if we can get him fully fit in the summer.
Yeah, agree. He's 33 now, and I'm looking 34, and he's undoubtedly showed his benefit to us in the time that he's been here with us. But that injury he had, he couldn't shake off, could he? For the rest of the remainder of the season, and when we had that situation where he could have been on the bench and gave us a maximum of 10 minutes, that's how bad we were at that one point towards the end of the season. I do wonder, we do need another defender in regardless. Whatever happens with Kilman, we do need another defender in because, like Dean said, Mosquera may think, this isn't the place for him and might have to go somewhere else on loan. Dawson's got a big injury question mark hanging over his head. So that then brings us down to Kilman, Breno and Totti. So regardless if we're playing in the 2 or 3, or certainly if we're playing in the 3, we're going to need someone else in anyway. But Dawson, he's a smart head. It's going to be one of them with Dawson, isn't it? The head wants to do, and the legs can't carry it out. Essentially, that's where it's going to be with him. He's undoubtedly probably going to stick around to be kind of a guiding voice for people like Kilman and Breno and Totti, and that's fine. But I'm not sure how much of an actual role he'll play as regards to time on the pitch next season. I think he's done what he's needed to do. We're going to have to start moving away from him now, unless he turns into bloody prime Pepe from Portugal, and he's still got another 7 years left in him, which I doubt. There's only one Pepe, but he's
the dream, really, ain't he? Pepe signing for Wolves is someone's the dream, ain't he?
Do you remember when we were rumoured?
I don't care.
He was unbelievable for Portugal yesterday. He was 41. They subbed him off to give him a standing ovation. He was that outstanding yesterday.
I don't care if he's 41. Even if we were in for him, we'll just go and get him. Can you imagine? But yeah, I think with Dawson, it's a bit different. And I think that we'll probably just see now to just slowly phase him out. But like I say, he's done his job for us while he's been here.
I was using Totti as an example in an ongoing debate with a friend yesterday in regards to if Newcastle or West Ham were coming in for Totti this summer, how much money would you want for Totti, Dean?
I'd want 20-25. I think he's broke into the Portugal squad. He's unique in the fact that he is still good on the ball, similar to Kilman, but you haven't got that homegrown tax and that kind of stuff. He's younger than Kilman though, in a positive. But I do think that English tax does kind of have a big weight. But I'd be looking at 2020. I think if someone offered us 20, I think we'd take it personally. But I think me personally, I'd want more than that. But yeah, like if you look at the graphs there, like it's a bit skewed a little bit. But like successful take-ons for a kind of centre half. Look at that. He's probably the best. He's the best in the league as a centre half for taking people on. So it's just because he's 99th percentile, so there's literally one, maybe none, better than him that taking a player on, which from a centre half. But he gets that because he gets down that left wing and he looks clumsy. Like I think it was Chris Tyler on Ryan Lester's pod used him as a wardrobe falling down the stairs as an analogy, but it's true. But he's effective at what he does. Like he does get past players and he does give you that. Like you look at that assist he got for Hwang against Newcastle. Like no centre half even tries that. Never mind pulls it off.
I just love his athleticism. I think there's players like Totti that you need to have in your starting 11. Aesthetically, like you said, on the eye, he might not be as the classic Bob Ross painting, but he's a player that you need, like you said. run through walls, can do it all really. You talked about that successful take-ons percentile there. Is a player for me that Wolves need to be building a future with. Really, I think Kilman for me could be sold before Totti because you get a lot more money, and I think for the money that we get for Kilman, you can replace him a lot easier. Our left side is probably our strongest side. Is that debatable? I don't know.
At the minute, it is because you got Totti and Ryan, and then Cunha.
Yeah. So Ryan Norway's been linked to Man City and Liverpool.
Yeah, I think so.
So I mean, another player this summer that's going to be linked to a big mover, which Wolves can't be lowballed on because of the ceiling that he's got. I'm trying to think. We've also got a section where Dean's compiled some potential desirables as a replacement for Max Kilman. We've already talked about Yerson Mosquera because he's a bit of a sort of a wild card situation here because I think he'll end up staying in Villarreal personally. But if he comes back, they're giving him assurance that he might get a lot more game time and he really hits the ground running. He could be one of our standout defenders next season. You've also sort of itemised there Dean Gabriel Osho from Luton and Nicholas Valentini from Boca Juniors.
Yeah, well, these are both free agents. This is why I put them in there because money's tight, etc. And we've already covered players that we'll pay money for. So these aren't necessarily starters, but as squad options. Like you look at Osho, like he did a decent job with Luton last season. He looked all right in a very poor team. Valentini is more of a youngster, 21. Boca Juniors just breaking into the team, but again, his contract runs up in December, so you could probably get him in at Christmas. Because on a free transfer, whereas Osho, I'm sure I read his contract runs out like now, so you could look at him on a free. Whereas like as a squad option, it's a good solid option to have. Yerson, again, like you said, he's the bit of the enigma that kind of is the trump card moving into the new season. But Osho played a fair few minutes as well. But the one thing with Valentini, the percentiles are okay, but they're a bit skewed because it's kind of a different data set because it's not in the top 5 leagues. So like, yeah, they're good options. Valentini's more of a project for the future, coming through at Boca, whereas Osho is like a nice cheap squad option to bring in.
Matt Hobbs loves a South American prodigy, Dean. It's possible.
That's why I've said it. And just for the record, a player that you'll probably will know is that another player that's out of contract from South America in December is Gabriel Barbosa. So if we want a nice left-footed striker, because we haven't got one, if Neto goes, got no one left-footed up there, I don't think.
We've also discussed Yuri Alberto again off camera.
Yeah, Yuri Alberto. I'd love to go back in for him. I like him. I like his profile. Corinthians, he's on fire recently as well. But again, he did cost a fair bit. I don't know how much that was. I think it was loan with option, wasn't it? We looked at.
We have also still believed to be in the race for Shay Adams along with Nottingham Forest and Al Shabab in Saudi. What's your sort of opinions on Shay Adams, prize free agent this summer, believed to be making his decision after the Euros and Scotland exit, which is likely to be in the next sort of couple of hours?
Yeah, we can expect his decision tomorrow, can't we? I don't know. Shay Adams is, I mean, as a squad option, I suppose, maybe. I mean, I've heard talk about him being like pivotal, or supposed being pivotal to the way we play. I can't see when we've got all these creative, flair, attacking players around. They've got Cunha, Neto, and they've got Gomez, Hwang, Sarabia, and then I'm expected to believe that Shay Adams is the glue that will just bind this all together and mean that we become a potent attacking force. Personally, I can't see. It's not a signing I can really get excited about. You know what? He wasn't. I don't think he was a regular. That's when I last checked. He wasn't a regular for Southampton last season. No doubt he would do a job if that's the way that you wanted to play. Hit a target man and then runners off him or play off him. I'm just not sure whether that's what we are looking to do next season. I think we might be a bit more creative than that. But like I say, as a squad option, I probably wouldn't be against it if it's to pad out the numbers, knowing that we haven't got Kalajdzic, that Fabio will be gone most likely permanently at some point in the summer. So we are going to be light in numbers as in the striking department. But it's not one that I'm going to probably shout from the rooftops on.
No, it's not a player that's going to sort of, get people happy and justify that they renewed their season ticket by a long way. What's your feelings on Shay Adams, Dean, and the fact that it was reported that we bid £18 million for him on deadline day?
Mate, that literally blew my head because he's not that type of player, is he? Like he's not worth that. Like he's a good low level Premier League striker, so he's not going to set the world alight. He'll come on and do a job for you. If you want that kind of battering ram per se, some of that physicality, put himself about, like, you know, I know you used the picture, but like I can't believe him. Like I was sitting in the North Bank, so when he did that miss for Southampton at Molineux, I literally just burst out laughing, like in the stand.
I had to put that in because it's just like you look at sort of sliding doors moments.
Exactly.
How he ended up doing that. Might have got Southampton a point on the day. They may have gone on to win that game. I think it would have been an equaliser at the time, I think.
Yeah, it would have. But he's literally like, he's a bit of a meme, isn't he? Like he just is like when like you look at people talk about him, clubs talk about him, but again, that might be a sign of where we are. That kind of lower to lower mid-table Premier League club. Like, I know as fans we want us to have more ambition than that, but he'll come in, he'll do a job, and on a free transfer, it's a sensible signing. It's not going to excite you, but as to bump out the squad, like we've said, we need to bump it out. Like you'd rather have had him up top than Fraser or Chukwuemeka chucked in at the deep end against Coventry, for example. We could have been at Wembley last season if we'd have had a player of that ilk in the squad.
I've said a couple of things tonight about how I think Kilman will be there the first game of the season. I don't think Shay Adams will be joining Wolves in the coming weeks. I feel like if Wolves were really serious about getting him, and we actually bid £18 million for him on deadline day, I feel like we would have already had him signed up by now if he was coming to Wolves. I feel like we may have already moved goalposts and have our eyes elsewhere because we've got enough time to find a better forward striker replacement than Shay Adams in the time that we've had elapsed since.
Sorry, Dan. That's what it was with Rodrigo Gomez. We wanted that deal done in January. We did it, but it's been done since April, ready to go. And if we really wanted Shay Adams, we'd have done exactly the same there.
He's the exact player you want when 4 or 5 forwards are injured and you're playing Coventry in the quarterfinals. It is that situation, isn't it? So frustrating even talking about that game. Danny Peters, that said, I'm sure there are other options that'll be that for you. So, yeah, be interested to see who we do get in the forward areas this summer. Obviously, Wangi Chang can get back to full fitness because his goals last season were key. Matheus Cunha can kick on from last season if he can get back to being fully fit. He looks like he's really enjoying himself back home in Brazil. So I'm a bit jealous of him for that. We've given you a good hour of Wolves chat tonight, guys. So if you're in the YouTube, on the YouTube page, please press the like button. It's just a quick little click on the bottom left of your screen. Costs nothing. Helps us to give you more content. So please do that for us. Let's have a quick chat on Euro 2024 so far. What have you made to the tournament so far, Dean? Let's talk about England straight off. England, 2 games, 1 win, 1 draw.
As a Wolves fan, you should be able to look forward to these international tournaments for a bit of something different. But it ain't. It's the same nonsense that we have to deal with, being let down by a football team.
It is literally, I said, I couldn't invest in England this summer. This Wolves have let me down enough this season. I didn't need England with their multi-million-pound players and Jude Bellingham, who's the next Zidane, bringing the trophy back home to England. I just couldn't buy into it. I feel like defensively we're still really struggling. I find it beyond embarrassing that we haven't got a left back in the whole English criteria of players available that could have played for the country in this tournament. Luke Shaw was seen limping after the Denmark game the other day, so he's not likely to play in this tournament. You've got a half-fit Kieran Trippier who's been crowbarred at left back. I feel like it's just embarrassing, Price. But let's hear your opinion on England.
I mean, I was at the aforementioned Download Festival for the Serbia game, so I didn't see that. But the messages that I did read at the time made it quite clear, perfectly crystal clear, there wasn't missing anything at all. But the Denmark game, it was just disgusting how crap it was. It was literally almost borderline offensive, that game. And it's like you say, Like, remember years ago when we couldn't find a left winger in England for love nor money. We even tried Scholes out there, Owen Hargreaves out there, Gerrard played out there. Alan Thompson had 45 minutes. I remember at one point as a friendly for England, and then suddenly, not only does he, I mean, fine, Shaw's injured, fine, Chilwell probably could have been an option, but then he just chooses not to take a left footer at all. He could have took Branthwaite, or here's an idea: if you don't have any left backs, just don't play four at the back when you need full backs, and try something a bit different. But just the excuse factory coming out after the game against Denmark, I couldn't handle it. Carl Walker just kept repeating tournament football over and over again. Like, what does that mean? What do you mean when you say, it's tournament football though? What does that mean? And then we're led to believe that England play yet again. The old excuse gets wheeled out that England players are knackered. How when all the other players, the ones who play for Spain, France, have played the same, if not more, games than what England have. I don't get it. And I mean, Southgate, you've got to say with Southgate, he has been the most successful manager in England in recent history, right? The run of semi-finals and finals has got us to. But everything he's done is all heavily asterisks, isn't it? Like World Cup 2018 semi-final, takes the lead, bottles it. Euros finals against Italy, takes the lead, same thing happens again. But now we're at a point where we just don't look as if we want to play. I've no idea what's going on behind the scenes there. Not a clue what's going on. But these two games so far, it's like they've just forgotten what the game is and how to play it. They get a goal, and then they just forget. Just don't know what to do. Or they've just become like kids and they just become scared and they don't know what to do. So it's like Dean says, you think it's a bit different now. In recent years, you think it's been a bit different. There's been a bit of a better culture. The players have said they're really looking forward to playing for England again. But it seems like, I mean, we're only going off the last two games. Mind you, though, if you include the friendlies, call it 4 games. But it just seems like we've gone back a few steps now, and we've gone back to like the England of old, where it's just become a chore to watch them. I mean, like saying this now, right? We'll get past Slovenia, and it could all turn out rosy, and we could go on another good run. Just doesn't look like it. I mean, does it? From what you can see.
Dean, agree with that? I mean, Gareth Southgate could have went full ball on Crystal Palace and put Tyrick Mitchell in at left back. He could have picked Alfie Doughty for Luton, who's not great defensively, but had a good season going forward. To pick Luke Shaw and crowbar Kieran Trippier in at left back is just beyond frustrating. 2 games in a row now, we've scored early from wide positions, yet our wide men don't want to beat the fullback. What chance has Harry Kane got as a centre forward when the players behind him don't want to give him service? I felt like he was thrown under the bus a little bit against Denmark because he was coming deep trying to get involved in the game, but it was just such poor football from what England were trying to put out that he just stood no chance. As soon as sort of Bowen came on against Serbia, within minutes he created a chance, Bowen, and Kane nearly scored. But if he's literally working off less scraps than Willian Jose and Fabio Silva at Wolves, what chance has he got, Dean?
Mate, he hasn't. Like, you look, but the problem is, like, that left-hand side is such a problem because you've got Foden that wants to come in, and then you've got Trippier who's right-footed. So, like Pricey says, if you don't like, I know people say it's negative, but you could go to a back 3, and you could try Saka at left wing back, which he has done years ago, especially at teams that sit in where you're basically playing 5 at top, and you just leave the 3 centre halves. So Walker could be that hybrid right centre back, right back, and you just put somebody left wing back who can just bomb on. There's something different.
This is why it's
completely sabotaged. It's completely sabotaged that left side, hasn't it? Because, like I said, we've crowbarred in the right back, left back. Foden's been asked to play there, and just that's not his best position. So, and then the 2 previous guys who have played left wing for England a lot and done well there mostly was Grealish and Rashford. He's decided not to take them, and you could argue that that's fair enough because Rashford and Grealish have not played well enough. But in doing so, now you've got that complete left side of the pitch. I think it's just completely sabotaged now because you've got the 2 players playing there who have no communication, no understanding at all. It's got to be changed. And then obviously with the Trent thing as well, he's going into a tournament experimenting. So it's going in. We literally have
that's
first
because
game.
Calvin Phillips is the missing piece.
I mean, that's just, again, offensive. That's just generally offensive. If that's his one main thing from the game, is come away saying, he can claim he's been misquoted all he wants or whatever, but if you've got on camera and said, we're still struggling to find a replacement for Calvin fucking Phillips, right?
It's what my mate said.
That's just embarrassing.
If Calvin Phillips is that integral to the way England play, call him up because he ain't dead.
He didn't play that much anyway.
Well, that's what I mean. But like, if he's that integral to the way England play, call him up because you've made other stupid decisions this summer. You're experimenting with Trent Alexander-Arnold in the midfield, and I feel sorry for Trent because he hasn't forced it. He hasn't got pictures of Gareth Southgate on his phone and he's blackmailing him to play. Gareth Southgate's going out of his way to experiment in a tournament with a player who's not a solid midfielder. Being a midfielder for England and Trent Alexander-Arnold starting for the country instead of you must be mind-blowing at the moment because the form that I should be ahead of flipping Trent Alexander-Arnold for this England squad. Another frustrating thing is 123 North Street, who's based in Germany. There's a fair number of Wolves lads who've gone over to Germany to support England. I feel really bad for them because there's a lot of England fans who spent a lot of money, travelled a long way to see some of their performances. And it's like I said, these Wolves fans deserve better. We've seen like the last 2 or 3 months of absolute tripe and the man to see again in white.
I think a lot of the England fans that travel, a lot of them, by and large, the fans of non-Premier League clubs. And you kind of think that when they go away, that's their time to see some proper elite football. And they're being served up this tripe, as you say, in a major tournament. You think, Christ, give me a break, man. I want to see some quality football.
I've just had a bit of sort of transfer breaking news that Todd Bowley is looking to bid for the top goal scorer of the tournament, own goal, who's got 6 at the moment. It's just, as I've said, when own goal's leading the race and you've got Romelu Lukaku on 3, if it wasn't for VAR, it hasn't been the most overly exciting tournament yet, has it, Dean?
Nah, but there's a name on there I like, Mikitadze from Georgia. I know Wolves have rumoured of him years ago, but he's gone to Ajax since, but I think he might be going back to Metz or one of the bigger clubs in France. But look at that Lukaku without VAR. that one yesterday was a joke. His kneecap was offside.
In the WhatsApp about they need to change the criteria. If they've got that much sort of software available to them now, the whole point of offside was to stop goal hanging back in the day. Go into this sort of level where you've got like someone's lace or Max Kilman's arse against Bournemouth or whatever it was last season. They've got to change the criteria for me for what's offside because when you're ruling out goals like that, it's not what the game is about, is it?
No, it's rubbish.
I mean, I look at Jamal Musiala there for Germany. He's only scored scored 1 against Scotland, so we ain't giving that much credence. But he's like one of the outstanding players in the tournament so far, and he's only got 2, and one of them was against Scotland.
Yeah, it's literally it's made a mockery of people's fantasy football because nobody's scoring goals.
Yeah. I mean,
there's been some good standout games, and they've usually involved like the lesser nations. Was it Turkey?
Turkey, Georgia, or Turkey, Romania. Yeah,
I think it was Turkey, Georgia. One of the 2 o'clock. I'm sure one of the 2 o'clock ones. It was just an absolute standout game. The ones involving all the big teams have fattered to deceive a bit. So Germany look back to a bit more the functional German machine that they always have been historically. But France haven't really got rolling just yet. It's England. I think looking at the XG charts I saw the other day, it's England and Scotland that are stinking the place out.
Yeah,
standard.
Spain look good though. I like Spain. Their midfield looks so balanced. Having Fabian Ruiz, Rodri, and Pedri. It's like.
For me, Portugal have got the squad to beat. To be honest, France, you could say as well, but Portugal. If you just sit back and take a look at the options that they've got, look at the 11 they put out, and then look at the options off the bench. Absolutely, it's ridiculous. If they can get it really clicking, and I know that they clicked yesterday against Turkey. I think Turkey kind of let them sort of play with them a little bit. But as the tournament goes on, if Martinez can get away working Ronaldo and the rest of the team around him to click, they will take some stopping because they can just call on some really, really big hitters from the bench. I think they'll probably go all the way, I reckon. I certainly I think I'll put them in the final for my money.
You talked on fantasy a moment ago, Dean. Joey currently leads the Fancast Euro 2024 Fantasy League. He had a big week in this match day. Baumgartner for Austria was a big scorer, but he had Jamal Musiala as his captain, who scored 18 points. He currently leads the league table on 145 points ahead of Josh with Frimpong Paddle on 133. Dean Marsden currently in 16th. Let's have a look at Dean's side when it does actually appear. It's not going to appear now, is it?
I had a poor week. I think the people that got more points was Gundogan and Musiala. Other than that, I failed last week.
I think your team stinks that much, it doesn't want to show up.
That's it.
And what makes it even worse is I'm 3 places below you in the Fancast. So I had Cristiano Ronaldo captain yesterday, and I was absolutely fuming when he went out of character and passed to Bruno Fernandes. But that's all that we've got time for you tonight. Thanks for joining us on the Wolves Fancast, an hour and 16 minutes of our lives that we've given to you. Please press the like button, and we'll hopefully do a few more episodes in the coming weeks as things progress at Wolves with players in and out. The American tour starts in a few weeks with games against West Ham, Crystal Palace, Red Bull, Leipzig. There's also a little bit of a tour in Marbella, I believe, where we're playing Dean.
Como. Is
there another fixture against like Alaves or Malaga or someone?
Might be. I haven't seen it.
Definitely playing Como, who have just brought in Andrea Bellotti to which we believe will be the exit for Patrick Cutrone, Nadine.
Nah, they'll play up front together and they'll score 20 goals each.
We'll see. Thanks for joining us. Have yourselves a good summer. We'll speak to you again the next couple of weeks. Goodbye from myself, Price, and Dean. Take care of yourselves and up the Wolves.